Just loading the presentation. Okay. Chairperson, let me thank the speaker in his absence for this opportunity to be presenting to the committee. And I must say good morning again to honorable members, and thank you for the opportunity to present the Free State Legislature's mid-year budget and performance assessment for the 2025-2026. This report, Chairperson, reflects our commitment of transparency, accountability, as well as strategic governance. These slides talks to the contents of the report. However, I'm not gonna count them all as they will be on the title of each slide. Chairperson, this report fulfills our legal and obligation under Section 53(1) of the Financial Management Act, but beyond compliance, it reflects our deeper intent, Chair, to build a legislature that is transformative, a legislature that is participatory in nature, a legislature that is spiritually grounded in servicing the people of Free State. Under the executive summary, Chair, in this mid-year report, we assess our financial and performance trajectory, and this includes monthly statements. It includes also the last year's audit findings, as Ntate Mabalani has already set that tone for us, and our progress on the annual performance plan as we continue. And based on this, Chair, we recommend an adjustment and revised projections to ensure that we have a fiscal sustainability. Chair, under the governance overview, governance remains our cornerstone of our institutional integrity. And while both quarterly reports have been prepared, the second is pending. The second report for the second quarter is still pending, and then it will be presented as soon as we are invited to come for presentations. And it's a step that we are committed to completing with diligence as well as transparency as we are required. So we are looking forward to receiving that invitation. And the Rules and Orders Committee Chairperson tackled critical matters from litigation updates. I'm sure the honorable members have the Word document of the report where it provides matters that have been discussed within the Rules and Orders Committee. So it talks to the updates to member support policies, and notably, Chairperson, we revived provisions for additional staff during incapacitation and memorial service for deceased members of our legislature, having seen that there is a need. And this is for us to reflect our values of compassion as well as continuity in servicing our members. On the issue of the audit committee, the audit committee has been proactive and thorough in their work with us. We approved the AGSA audit strategy, reviewed financial statements, and then we endorsed as well political party statements and the clean audit outcome, Chair. It is a statement to our financial discipline as well as ethical stewardship, even though at times it's quite hard because we find ourselves having to deviate from time to time, but that is due to the work of the legislature, especially the work of the committee, Chair. On the current committee that we are visiting today, Chairperson of Budget and Oversight, Chairperson, we are proud to report that all 61 Q1 targets were achieved, and therefore we have achieved a 100% success rate across all the programs. And then Q2 performance, Chair, like we said, continues. We're going to still continue this trend because we are busy at the stage of validating all the information that's supposed to accompany the reports as a portfolio of evidence. And this reflects not just operational efficiency, but a culture of excellence that we are planning to achieve from time to time as a legislature, because we must lead as a legislature with example. On the plenaries held from April to October, Chair, the legislature held 20 plenary sessions, and these gatherings, Chairperson, are vital for democratic deliberation and legislative progress, and each session, Chair, reflects our commitment to active engagement and responsive governance. And I'm sure the honorable members would recall that the Speaker has even changed the status quo in terms of the questions for oral reply that are being placed in the House. He does not only take it for granted that members confirm that they have submitted responses to the questions, but he insisted that members must actually respond within the House. On oversight and legislation, Chairperson, our oversight work has expanded meaningfully, and this is as a result of the decision of the programming committee that site visits must continue on every Friday, as opposed to what used to happen in the previous term. So, Chairperson, so far, from April to October, we have received reports on 11 oversight visits, 51 committee meetings, 18 reports, and 150 resolutions that have been populated by the committees. And we are also innovating, introducing virtual pre-hearings, as well as stakeholder surveys to deepen public participation and reduce the legal risk. On the financial performance, Chairperson, revenue stands at 50%. That is for this current financial year from April until October. And while expenditure has received 54%, this slight overspending is driven by essential activities like public hearings and traveling. We are monitoring closely, Chair, and preparing corrective measures where we can. And on the revenue and expenditure details, our own revenue generation has reached 961,000, and this is a modest but meaningful contribution. And we received this, Chairperson, from the travel, the public hearings. The expenditure, the 961,000, we receive it from the interest that we are having in our account, as well as the parking. All the officials and members are paying for their parking, so that money comes into our revenue, as well as the asset disposals that we normally undertake annually. And then on the expenditure drivers, Chairperson, the pattern show pressure points in travel and leases, as well as which we are intending to address through reprioritization and the budget adjustment shifts. Chairperson, under the adjustment budget, we anticipate a shortfall of about 21 million. Consultations with Treasury are underway, and then retained revenue as well as strategic budget shifts will help us manage this gap while maintaining service delivery, Chairperson. Our APP has been refined to address past misalignments, and we've strengthened, Chairperson, the link between KPIs, targets, as well as outcomes. This is to ensure that our budgeting and performance delivery are coherent as well as impactful. On the legislative compliance, Chairperson, the sector bill that is intended to regulate the work of the public service of, let me say, administration of the legislative sector is underway. And then also there is an amendment that is planned for the FAMPLA. And we are also, Chairperson, currently working through Section 65 regulations through the legislative sector forums. All these bills, Chairperson, once they have been prepared, they will then be tabled before the Speakers Forum so that they can be adopted and then cascaded down to the provinces. And these reforms, Chairperson, will enhance our legislative framework and align us with the national standards. Chairperson, in closing, the mid-year report reflects legislature that is financially sound, strategically focused, and spiritually committed to its constitutional mandate. And then with your continued support as a committee, we will navigate the challenges, Chairperson, ahead and build a legacy of integrity as well as impact. And having said that, Chairperson, I wish to thank you and the committee for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Sifo. Let me applaud the institution obtaining unqualified, which is clean audit. That is good. I hope the institution will maintain this audit opinion. Never go back. On action plan, I saw the action plan. I think it also assists on that indicator, that the one indicator that left will be resolved. Honorable members, as you are commenting or questioning the presentation, can you please indicate in which report, so for the record purpose? I'll now give over to you, honorable members. There is the 2 reports from the legislature. Any comment? Honorable Jungleston, Honorable Van Vuren, and Honorable Foucault.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. We note that the Speaker and Deputy Speaker aren't here today. I know the previous administration, the Speaker refused to attend this meeting, but this administration, we did get a commitment, at least if one looks at their presence at previous meetings, that they would attend. But I see today they glittering in their absence from this meeting this morning. And even if it's just to listen to what we have to say, it's important that they perhaps attend this meeting. I'm not sure if they submitted an apology to you, Honourable Chair, for not attending. Chair,
on that one, Honourable Jungleston, I did say that Honourable Speaker and Honourable Deputy Speaker, they did apologize, and the committee did receive the apology of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think there's anything that on the legislature's program which would prevent them from attending this. But let's leave that as it is. Chair, just a couple of questions, and I'm dealing with the document, the annual performance report. A simple one perhaps, but the Raadsaal, the chairs of the Raadsaal, I just want to know if we're going to be getting them back, the original chairs, or if these chairs which we have there are now permanent. And where are those chairs that used to be there? Because those are heritage items, I think, and they go with the desks. They matching with the desks, and it comes a long way. It's something that's part of the heritage of this legislature and the Raadsaal. Chair, the 150 resolutions that were mentioned by committees, is there a tracking mechanism to ensure that they're implemented? Because I see there were 52% of responses received from the MECs, In committees, we don't always get these responses. We don't always see these responses from MEC, so we presume that we have all these committee reports with all the recommendations, and I think it's just for reporting purposes, because we don't get feedback from the executive regarding that. Chair, and then just on another issue, the 21 million shortfall that's anticipated, and we note that we were told that it'll come from retained revenue, but retained revenue can only last so long, and then it's finished. So my question is, based on our previous discussions on the budget of the legislature, whether the administration and the leadership in the legislature, and that's why it's important that the Speaker and Deputy Speaker are here, because they must also represent us there, whether they've had discussions with the executive, as we did previously, to ensure that we receive the necessary funding so that we're able to carry out our constitutional mandate. Because as we know, it's very convenient for the executive to cut our budget, and then they're not held accountable by the legislature. And it could be a strategy from their side, but we did receive promises both from the leadership in the legislature and the MEC for finance that this would be dealt with, and it doesn't appear that they're doing so. And based on that as well, the salaries of MPLs, has that now been removed from our budget? Is it now part, does it come from Treasury? Are they paying for it? Or is it still part of our original budget? Because I know that was one of the things that we were promised, that as with other provinces, that Treasury would cover that cost and it wouldn't come from our budget. So I just want to know if that was implemented or not. Chair, and then one of the things we also discussed previously is, and that deals with the vacancies, the 19% vacancy rate, is that one of the reasons why we didn't go into financial crisis, among various others, is because we didn't always fill these posts, and that because we can retain our revenue and we're the only institution that can in the province, this has allowed us some additional funds of retained revenue to cover the shortfalls which we have. So if we're going to complain about the 19% vacancy rate, and if it's going to be filled, then we're going to have to receive the budget in order to pay for that. Regarding the, I see 8 out of 12 senior management service members signed the performance agreement, and the reason provided is that 2 incumbents were appointed late in the financial year. Now, if you add 2 to 8, it's 10. So that means there's still 2 missing there that haven't received it. It could be an error. I don't think so, Chair. Chair, another thing that has been coming a long time in this legislature is the average personnel cost of employee, which is on average over R1 million per employee. And I don't know if the legislature has an entry level and upper limits for posts in this legislature, but R1 million seems to be very high. If you compare it with outside, and people who perhaps similarly qualified, a teacher earns between 244 and 260,000 a year. And in the legislature, the average salary is R1 million. Let's look at your general practitioners, doctors, who well qualified, 5 years of study, between 522,000 and 1.6 million a year. That's what a doctor earns. If you look on average, it's probably about R1 million, which is what the average staff member in this legislature earns. And I know that our legislature have very high qualifications for staff members, because when they arrive here, they study and study and study and collect degrees, like some of us as well, who MPLs. But I also want to refer, based on that as well, let's look at a receptionist. And we don't complain as political parties that we get discretionary funding to appoint people, because it's discretionary and we can appoint 2 or 3 people with the amount which we receive. But for example, we receive 47,000 per month for a receptionist, per month. The average receptionist in the private sector gets 7,900 Rand per month. So when last were these salaries reviewed? And I'm not saying that current employees' salaries must be brought down necessarily, but surely from now on when we appoint, there must be some comparison with the private sector, because this 1 million is going to go up, up, up. And if it's disproportionately high, if one looks at the average salary of a staff member in the legislature compared to the private sector. So at some stage, this legislature is going to have to look at that dispensation. Chair, and then based on that as well, I just want to know, has this legislature done a skills audit to ensure that the people who are appointed in the legislature are in the right positions, that we're using the staff that we have correctly, and also that we're getting value for money from our staff members, because some of them work extremely hard and others perhaps less so, if one looks at the performance of certain areas within the legislature. So are we getting value for money, and have we done a skills audit to ensure that we ask that of other departments and municipalities? We must also apply that in the legislature. And then an important thing, and it's something that we received as well from our researchers in the legislature, is that the Free State legislature seems to be doing bean counting when it comes to the reports that committees produce. But what is the impact of this? There's no way that we measure, and I think we should be perhaps the committees, the chairperson's panel can perhaps look at this, but what is the impact of these reports, the oversight that we do, the interactions with departments? Is there any impact? Because if one looks at municipalities, which we had here last night until almost 12 o'clock, and departments, then we interrogate them, and it's just a tick box exercise. Quarterly reports, common report, tick box exercise, annual reports, APPs. We go and do oversight now and again. We draft reports, we put resolutions in the reports, and we don't see any impact of that, because on the ground we don't see the improvement of services. And the Free State, if one looks at services in the Free State, it's one of the poorest performing provinces. Just look at our roads network, etc. What impact has this legislature had over how many years, decades, to hold the executive accountable to ensure that we get value for money? We have contracts that are contractors appointed, contracts given out, the contractor leaves, a new contractor leaves, a new one, all that money spent. We've had things like the asbestos scandals, Vrede Dairy, all these things happen under our watch. And it means that we're doing tick box exercises. There's no impact of what we're actually doing. And I know it's not only the administration's responsibility, it's also the politicians, because I think the legislature and the oversight that we do and the impact is probably as strong as the politicians that we have. But the legislature as a whole has to take responsibility for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Van Vuren.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think I've been covered by most of the things. Just to add the questions or the answers to the questions. We keep on struggling to get the annexures. So when the office of the secretary receives the answers, they don't go through it to see if the annexures are added and get that also. We have to ask for those every single week that we receive answers. It's never included. Chair, and then Honourable Jenkinson did touch on the fourth raadsal. Can we just perhaps get some feedback on the progress and the expenditure of that 5 million rand that's budgeted every year for upgrading the fourth raadsal and how far we are with that? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Foucault.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, let me welcome the presentation, Chair, with clean audit. It shows that there is a light somewhere, Chair. Chair, I attempted to ask 2 questions, but I withdraw myself because the speaker is not here and I don't want to ask questions that goes to the speaker and the deputy speaker. But let me ask this one, Chair. The one of a protocol officer, Chair, because we are struggling as the legislature because we are traveling outside the country and we are struggling when we reach our destination without a protocol officer. That is very important because the arrangement is supposed to be handled by the protocol officer. And also the documents that we are receiving as the members, we are receiving them late while we are outside the country, and that is not right. Let the legislature do what they're supposed to do. But that one of protocol officer is a very serious matter that the legislature is supposed to look into it, and they must give us a full report what is happening, because we know that the protocol officer is dismissed. Why are we not filling that position? Because it's a critical position in the legislature. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chifu.
Thanks, Chairperson. I just want to follow up on what has already been raised. Let me start with the systems. I don't know whether the systems, internal systems in the legislature are deteriorating or what. You feel that part of the problems, internal operations, rest on the problems of systems, which really have to be looked at. One would make an example of coordination. I think what has just been raised by Dr. Jankelson on the impact of the work of the legislature lies on the issues of systems. You have issues that are dealt with by petitions committee, and those issues find a resonance in another portfolio committee. But as we discuss in that portfolio committee, there's no relationship with what petitions committee has done with being on the same issue. One can make reference of simple issues that every time petitions committee is seized with problems of Department of Health, when they put the portfolio committee on social and health and what is dealing with the Department of Health, those issues never find expression in the portfolio committee when you interact with the Department of Health. And you then see that there's a serious disjuncture where you find that it's like committees are working in silos. And the second issue on maybe related to the high salary bill that Dr. Jankelson was raising. rest on the job satisfaction. Maybe it's because of the human resource plan. For employees here to deal with the issue of job satisfaction, because the structure is too small, and probably a bit flatter. There's no leverage for upward mobility. Now, for people to get job satisfaction is through getting more money out of the institution, and this it happens in many ways, where people would want to do certain things that would ensure that they get more money. Now, the issue is that obviously must go back to the question of the quality of work. Is it possible that the human resource can ensure that there's a human resource plan that enriches the quality of jobs, job enrichment, which must then ensure that people would find satisfaction, job satisfaction out of the work they do. And in this case, I think it's what also was referred to when Daddy Junction. Some sections, you may find people working a lot, and in others, people are not working a lot. If you get the picture that the staff component is 157, it surprises you, because if you come here almost every day, you'll see same faces. We should probably be less than 40 people, and then you ask yourself, these others, where are they? And when you remember that you only have 2 buildings of the legislature, it's this one, the main building, and Ratsal. So where are these other people that we are talking about? It then goes back to the issue of the need for work study. That work study, I think it's related to the issue of the skills audit. There has to be work study commissioned as part of job enrichment, and to ensure that maybe out of that there can be a way of a restructuring that might ultimately mean that what we say are vacancies are in fact redundant positions, which can easily be whose jobs can be easily be done by the component that already exists, that we may only come with the job redesigns, and that has to go through the process of work study and also skills audit, and so that we then ensure that all the components are really fully functional. That's why I say this, you see, in terms of coordination of things. From time to time, we get frustrated by coordination of programs. Those coordination of programs, sometimes, for instance, yesterday we ended up as members fighting each other on the issue of the program, the clashes of program. And once we have a solid and the technical component that is very meticulous in its work, you can't have a situation where for a long time we have a problem of coordination of a program. At some point, we were complaining that we You know, we go on what is this a site visit. You haven't had a situation where we can really measure the impact of the site visits, because the manner in which we arrange them is rush. You go to this place, you take an hour, rush to another one, and then at the end of the day, you must be part of another portfolio committee, which also has a site visit somewhere else, far away from this one, and we are not driven; we drive ourselves. And until we come and complain, say, but we can't be doing this. It then really says, how is the program coordinated? And until you have that meticulous, technical team that works on ensuring that ultimately the work that we do becomes impactful. And part of it is to ensure that the work is measured, which must then give feedback. And that feedback must then be part of the drawing board to say, should we review, so that we then heighten our impact in the work that we do. And every time you'll be raising these things, but until you tire, nothing changes. It's like we have been here for a long time. You can't tell us what to do. We know what to do. This is what we must do. And that's why I say the amount of money that goes to salary payment must find expression in the impact of the institution on the mission of the institution, and which is why the issue that there's no correlation. And even though there's no correlation, if you can make your own interaction with the staff members here, all of them will be complaining about money. They want more money. Now, I then say at the heart of that is the issue of job satisfaction. And how do you then deal with the issue of job satisfaction? It goes back to the human resource plan. I don't have skills and what in human resource, but some of the things that you really see, you then ask yourself, what then is the role of human resource management in the situation like this? Because if that section is not impactful in its work, the whole burden goes to finance, and finance has to carry the burden with people complaining every time and every time, when in essence these issues must be dealt with here. But I then also say that the overall, well, I think this also must also be addressed by strategic planning session of the legislature. The strategic planning session of the legislature must really pick up issues, and as it sits, it addresses issues that have been raised throughout, to say, but these are the issues that have been packaged as we went along the year. How do we improve or deal with these issues? And that's why I say the issue of coordination, it's so clear and impact on a lot of what we are doing. And that is because of poor systems, I believe, or systems that have deteriorated. It might be that there have been good systems, but at some point, the systems deteriorate. Maybe probably because of poor leadership provided at a point, or because of the confusion or vacuum that exists at some point. So that's my feeling. Unfortunately, we have to raise these things here because this is a committee of the legislature which affects us directly, and whose programs as we adopt, they must also then bring satisfaction to us, to ourselves as members of the legislature. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable Skwabela.
Thank you, Chair. Let's welcome the presentation. I think, Chair, most of the issues have been covered. However, I just want to understand this one, given the issue of vacancy rate. My understanding would be that you might find an employee that is employed for this particular job description because of the shortages of the human bodies or employees. They might also be doing other extra work that is not catered for in their job description. So my question is that do we have, does the legislature have such employees? And if so, there are such employees that have been that are doing beyond what their job description it's what they are being appointed for. What is then becomes their remuneration, therefore, for doing the work that is beyond their JD. And the other issue I want to understand, given the shortage, one of the issues that I would elevate is that my understanding where it is that each and every committee is supposed to have perhaps its own legal advice. That's what I understand. And researchers, they are there, coordinators are there. So, but what I want to understand is the issues of benefits and allowances of the support staff of committees. How are they structured? As far as you would understand that they do, if the committee would have more oversight visits, what then becomes their allowances? And as if there are overtimes, how do you pay those overtimes? Do they get remuneration or what others? Because I want to believe that the employees of legislature are also equally, they are bound by the labor laws as well of this country. So how do you pay them if they care overtime when we're doing the work, in oversight or throughout the meetings? You know, what are the benefits and allowance that they have, especially those who are supporting staff for committees? And what I want to understand, there's something that is called the 12% annual turnover rate. Do you think your 12% turnover rate, is it high or is it low? And what would be the justification if it's high or if it's low? And then I think, Chair, these other ones I'm largely covered on some other issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Skwabela. Indeed, honorable members are frustrated, specifically when coming to the issues of the committees. As they are raising some issues in this platform, some comments need to be discussed in Chairperson's panel. But fortunately, the chair of chairs is here, and unfortunately, the management of the legislature doesn't sit in those platforms. Hence, they are raising these issues here so that you can take it into consideration. My last question before you can respond is the report state NA on the utilization of consultant. That means no consultant were used at all during this financial year. That is my question. And now can we get the responses from the institution?
Chairperson, thank you so much for the questions that come from the members. Initially, when we started, Chair, you requested honorable members to state as to whether the questions are related to the annual plan or the mid-year report. However, I will hand over to the CFO to answer those that he can. And then Dade Mabalani will answer those that are related to the House resolutions a lot and any other that he can. And then I'll take the rest. Thank you, Chair. CFO.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. Let me start off to respond to Honorable Jankelson's query about the Raadsal, in particular on the heritage chairs. Indeed, it is so that the heritage chairs requires a reupholstering. Currently, it is stored here in this building, and I can confirm that we did request through the adjustment budget for the reupholstering implication to be financed. So if all goes well, those chairs should be ready, I guess, within the next 3 months. The only question that still remains is whether Public Works will also come to the party and do their bit insofar as maintenance at the Raadsal is concerned. Honorable Jankelson also raised the issue of the 21 million shortfall, in particular on us using retained revenue. So just to note that the retained revenue that we are proposing forms about 6 million of the 21 million, and that's basically surpluses that has been accumulated over previous financial years. So we go back to Treasury and said, whilst we are requesting for 21 million, 6 million of that will come from retained. You have also asked whether the Speaker did engage the MEC Treasury. I can confirm that there was a formal meeting between them. I believe it was in April this year. I was present at that meeting, where the MEC of Treasury did undertake that they will review the baseline of the legislature. However, with the allocation letters that we received, there was no changes to the baseline. I also recall that the MEC Treasury did, when he responded at the tabling of the votes, gave an undertaking that the adjustment process will be used to correct the shortfall that the legislature is sitting with. I don't see this as a new matter. It's something that we've been struggling with to get the baseline just aligned to an acceptable rate. If you look beyond the Free State and you look into the sector, they are also complaining about the fact that they are shortchanged when it comes to allocation. But what I do know is that the norm should be 1% of equitable share. So if we bring it closer to home and we say, okay, but 1% of the equitable share in the province, that would mean that the legislature should be receiving at least about 90 million more than what we are getting at the moment. Just to put it in perspective. I know on an international level, the accepted rate is 1%, and it is being applied as such, what they call top slicing. So there's no debate about it. Unfortunately, with us, it looks like there's some power play between executive and the legislative sector. On the issue of, on the question of the salaries of members of the legislature, it still forms part of our responsibility, but it does not form part of vote 2. So the way that it's been applied and it's been regulated is to state that it would be a direct charge to the provincial revenue fund. Can't be reasoned by Treasury to say we are only giving you this much. It's the published rates of the Commission on Remuneration and also what the President would publish annually to say this is the salaries that needs to be paid, as well as the benefits. So in the case of the year that we reported on was a unique year in the sense that it was the elections, and there was also a rather large implication on non-returning members who qualified for gratuity payments. So that in itself had quite an implication on the expense for members' remuneration. Then there was also concern raised about the wages of the staff of the legislature. Yes, indeed, we do acknowledge that. We also made presentations to our leadership to say, but how can we reduce the wage bill of the legislature? The one proposal is that we establish a parallel salary structure. So in terms of labor, you can't negatively apply that to the current staff members, but any new member that staff member that comes in should be subject to the parallel salary structure, which is at a much lower level. We do acknowledge the fact that the average remuneration package at the legislature is simply too high. The turnover is very low. People do not exit the workforce of the legislature. We're a small component, but still, you would find that, like for instance, myself, I've been around the block for quite a number of years in this institution. So yeah, that would be the response insofar as the reduction of wage bill is concerned. Then yes, I think maybe that would be my responses, Chair. And let me hand back over to the acting secretary to respond to the rest of the concerns raised. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO and Dr. Mapalane. Through you, Chair.
I just,
Thank you, Acting.
I'm sharing my column. I'm the one who's sharing. You can proceed, Ntate Mabala.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair. I will also respond to some of the questions raised. I think the first one, and that relates to employees doing work beyond their job description, which was asked by Honorable Sikwabel. Our policy provides for acting, but acting in a higher position. And where an employee acts in a higher position, then there is a formula used to determine his or her remuneration. But it does not provide for an employee who performs the functions, especially of junior functions, if I can put it that way. So employees who are performing extra functions, but for positions that are junior to them, the policy does not provide for remuneration. It only provides for those who are acting in a higher position, and maybe the acting secretary will come in also. Indeed, it is so that we have a policy, Honorable Zama, on overtime payment. Employees do, in cases where they anticipate that they are going to work overtime, they do make applications. And where employees did not anticipate that they will work overtime, like yesterday, I hear that honorable members were here until 12 o'clock. That's overtime, and I think they'll be properly compensated in terms of overtime payment. Insofar as the House is concerned, we have a resolution
Ntate
tracking.
Mabalan,
Yes.
they are also included in that overtime.
Okay.
It's on a
Yes.
lighter note.
Yes, Madam Chair. In terms of House resolutions, we have an employee whose function, amongst others, is to track and follow up on the House resolutions. And from time to time, he interacts with me where I send letters following up on the House resolutions. So insofar as the House resolutions are concerned, we have somebody dedicated to ensure that the resolutions are implemented. Maybe just to also add, CFO, on the 5 million that is allocated to the RATSAL for maintenance. We, myself and the acting secretary, we interacted with the management of the of Public Works, I think a week or so ago. And what became clear is that the actual renovations, and what they've done, they've identified critical renovations like the fire system, the falling doors, etc. They indicated that the actual renovations will begin in the new financial year. But what they have done in the meantime, they have incurred costs on consultants, pertaining to the renovation. So we will see the actual renovations in the new financial year. I think we will, Honorable Van Vuuren. The questions as they come to the legislature, they are then transmitted as they are to the members of the Executive Council. And
Before
response-
before that, Ntate Mabalan, on this one of RATSAL, the questions about the chairs. Where's the chairs?
oh, okay, I think the CFO has indicated that the chairs are here, and they are going to be upholstered. There's going to be they are going to be attended to, and maybe in the next 3 months they will be returned back to the RATSA. Yes, but the chairs are here in this building as we speak. So the responses as they come, they then get transmitted to the original honorable members who asked the questions. So it has been we have been a conduit, if I can put it that way. They come, we submit. The responses come, we submit. and all these questions are dealt with by the manager in the office of the Deputy Secretary, Mr. Petrozond. And I think now we are on question 800 or something like that. Maybe we might have to request him, to, as the question comes, to go through them, and as the responses come, to also go through them, so that if the annexures are not attached, before, maybe he can indicate to a member that we have a response, it's a response, but we have requested the annexures in the meantime. I think it's something that we can do, Honorable Van Vuren. And maybe my last comment, Madam Chair and Acting Secretary, pertains to the protocol office. I think the protocol officer position is very important, especially because one of the programs of the legislature is international relations. And the protocol officer makes it much easier and comfortable for members when they travel overseas, in terms of ensuring that they're taken care of. We have somebody acting in the position, but I think the acting secretary is very clear that that position has to be filled as soon as possible. And I think that that will happen. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Merciful.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, let me just start with that question on the protocol officer. We currently in a process of filling vacant positions. Now, when we fill vacant positions, in terms of our recognition agreement, we must first try and fill positions from internally. So some of the positions, one would like to steal from certain, you do your audit skills, and then after that you would want to see who are the people that you know they are committed and they can be able to serve at certain positions. Now, I'm having a predicament, Chair, which I have not yet discussed with the presiding officers. There are some of the officials that I would really like to steal or change, move around, Others would be as a result of promotions, and then others would be as a result of lateral transfers. So those that are with lateral transfers, they are the ones that are actually giving me a problem, because moving a person from a certain position, and most definitely you're going to fight with the members, because they are serving, some are serving in the committees and all and the likes. So I still have to make my presentation and motivate to the presiding officers and get their approval to do that. That is with regard especially to the one of the protocol officer. And if I have to go to the questions that have not been responded to, I think, Chair, the first one would be on the 19% vacancy rate, which is also linked to what I've just said. We are busy trying to fill agent positions, like the ones of committee coordinators. We have advertised in the committee section, we have advertised 4 positions. And then with effect we have filled 1, which is the manager committee, that was with effect from October. And now we have just approved the appointment of 2 committee coordinators who will be joining the committees from the 16th of November. And then we have also advertised the position of the manager research. The interviews have been completed, and I am still waiting for the report. I don't know if the acting secretary in my absence received a report from the panel, but we are just waiting for that. And I think if possible, if we get it today or we have already received it, they might also be, that position will be filled from the 16th of November. But because today is the 5th, and we have not received it, it means the appointment will be with effect from the 15th or 16th of December, depending on the how we calculate the days. With regard to the issue of the performance agreement that has not been signed by senior management, we are actually, we have flagged this as part of the post-audit action plan, which we have to attend to and make sure that all the senior managers fulfills their obligations, because once senior management is unable to fulfill their obligations, it goes without saying that there is no order in that directorate. So it means there must be consequent management where people did not do what they're supposed to do in terms of the performance policy that we have. Okay, I've also responded to the one of skills audit in Dr. Jankelson. Okay, on the reports that are produced by the committee, I think I will pair that with the question of Honorable Khwabane, where he spoke about systems. Chair, what the legislature has been doing in the past is that we would go through the strategic plan session. From strategic plan, we then develop our own annual plan. And then we basically end it there. And that process is not supposed to end there. We have to go beyond business plans of each directorate. From business plans, then we develop the standard operating procedures. They have not been implemented. So that is what we are currently going to start doing. And I have already requested the directors that they must provide the secretariat on a monthly basis with their monthly reporting, their monthly reports. The monthly reports must talk to the KPIs, the targets. It must talk to how you manage your unit, how many people are coming to work on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, how many people have been taking leave, and what has been the cause of that leave. Is it vacation leave? Is it sick leave? You know, so that you are able to know where are your officials. Honorable Khwabane is correct to say we have about 152 officials, but from time to time you see about 40. It is correct. Some, except for those that are office bound, like myself, or finance people, but there are those that you would not know where they are. And when you ask directors, the directors are unable to respond. But that is because we are laxed in terms of running the institution as directors. So we are going to hold directors responsible. And I have also mentioned to the directors and managers that discipline is not the accounting officer function, it's the management function. So if you are unable to get information as to where is your official, what is she doing, then you are not able to manage. So then as secretariat, we will then be whipping the directors in terms of providing reports. So that we are going to monitor through the submissions of weekly plans. So officials must submit weekly plans to their directors, and their directors must be able to give us all that overview of how they are managing their units on a monthly basis. And we have separated also the meetings between managers. We used to have what we call extended management meetings. So we're now going to have the executive meeting, which is the trio that is seated in front of you. And from there, we will be having monthly management meetings with directors and acting directors. And then on a quarterly basis, where we review the performance of directorates, we will then be having the joint management meetings. So we're no longer going to be allowing people to come and complain unnecessarily about their directors. Their directors must actually produce to us as to how they are performing within their own directorates. Okay, the one of Honorable Van Vuren have been responded to. Okay, the fourth Ratsal renovations, I think that the Mabalani has touched on it. We are having a serious challenge. And I really, really would like to request that the honorable members pay attention to that, because indeed there has been a 5 million that has been secured or been presented from time to time that we have a budget for renovations. But that budget is not seated with the legislature. That budget is given to Public Works for Public Works to attend to the renovations. However, Public Works is not only obliged to do the renovations for the Ratsal, but they also do renovations for other departments. Upon our inquiry from Public Works as to what has happened to that amount, they told us straight that that money was utilized to pay for consultants to come, the architectures, to draw how they're going to do the renovations. So now they do have the plans. The plan is ready and available, and the cost of the plan is about 42 million. So, and then normally they get about, they said, like, for instance, this financial year alone, they received 13 million. So if you look at the plan that will cost about 42 million vis-a-vis the 13 million that we have to share with all other departments, it means there is a possibility that Ratsal will never be renovated. So that we leave with the honorable members. The speaker refused to meet with them because he's also tired of the promises. Honorable Foucault, yeah, the protocol officer has been attended to, and we will ensure, Honorable Foucault, that the people that we delegate to go and assist honorable members on international trips are people who are actually dedicated in serving the honorable members. I always emphasize to our management that we are here and we exist for one reason, to serve the honorable members, and we are going to ensure that honorable members receive the necessary treatment that they should get from us as officials. On the issue of the systems, Honorable Khabane, I've already attended to that. The issue of petitions committee, we were having a challenge of separation of powers between the committee section as well as the administration that has to deal with the petitions. We have therefore decided that the petitions administration must also draft their own standard operating procedures where they will be able to provide us, the administration, with a report every time they receive the petitions. And before they can be allowed to go out to do the investigations, that report must be accompanied with the annexures as to what is it, whether it means, remember, petitions, they are being considered in terms of the Petitions Act, the Free State Petitions Act. So first, officials must be able to explain to the management that this petition meets all the requirements in terms of the Petitions Act, and therefore we would like to take it to a further stage of doing investigations. And investigations should not be done by the members. It must be done by administration. And once the investigation proves that this petition is now ripe to be referred to the committee section, where committee section will then refer it to the relevant chairperson, then that is the only time that the petition will be handled through the committee section. But all the administrative work has to be done by the officials before it can be referred to the committee section, so that there is that separation of powers. Because remember, Ndate Chabana is a manager, Mesiska is also a manager. So there would always be that conflict if one has to report to the other. So there must be a proper handover. And once that handover is done, then Ndate Chabana runs with it. And I think with the incoming coordinators, he'll be able to allocate or dedicate a coordinator specifically for a petitions committee. Okay, need for work study, HR plan, Honorable Khobane, you on point. We are going to actually implement or consider that proposal that we must have an HR plan. And then also I must mention, Chair, that we are also reviewing the structure of the legislature. Honorable Khwabane spoke about the flat structure that we are having. We currently trying to come up with a new structure that will actually cater for the hierarchy or hierarchical, or the one that can actually motivate people to occupy higher positions and not complain about the salaries, so that they work hard and then they know that if I work hard, I'll be considered. Previously, things were done differently, and I would not want to actually mention how is that differently. Yeah. Let me just check. Okay, also on that issue of baseline of the legislature, I know CFO has mentioned it, but I think it is also important to mention that the Secretariat Forum is also looking at that, because it's a national problem to say legislatures are not allocated the budget that is convenient to run the work that they have to do. So we are also planning to make sure that we motivate to the Speakers Forum that the legislature must get its budget directly from national instead of from, to avoid the political space that the CFO has also mentioned. And I know CFO also wants to say something on that question of not applicable. CFO, as I check if I have responded to all the questions, maybe you can take over from there. Thank you. Oh, through you, Chair. My apologies.
Chair, thank you. It's just in response to your question about the consultants. We do acknowledge that that was an error in the human resource chapter, which says that we did not utilize consultants. We do utilize or use consultants. I know that I can confirm that in our financial statements we did disclose that. But in that chapter of HR, it was not disclosed. The extent of those consultants is also grouped with specialized and professional services. So what we would do is we would group legal counsel, for instance, who represents legislature in cases against FSL within that grouping. It will also comprise of contracted services like the interpreters that we are using on a contract basis. It also falls within that grouping. So just to note that, yes, indeed, we do make provision for that. That was an error. Thank you.
Thank you, Ntate, and thank you so much, colleagues. Can you please rectify that error, Ntate? Honorable members, there's any follow-up? Honorable Khwabane, Honorable Foucault, Honorable Van Vieren, Honorable General Step, Honorable Scribble, all members.
No, Chairperson, I was saying, I don't know Ntate Meko well, like he presiding officer or
Honorable Meko is a member of the committee.
oh.
His hand is not up.
No, I think the maybe we need to have, I don't know if it's possible, a situation where you can institute some sort of a research. I'm worried about if there's a process to restructure, not having done with the work study, and also in a rush to fill positions. It may also defeat the purpose of dealing with the elephant in the room. And also the other issue, which I think management is not picking up, is what determines job satisfaction in the institution. And which is why I'm saying at the moment it has tilted towards financial issues, which then must be to say, how can we deal with job satisfaction in such a way that it can move away from the finance. If it's through the structure, but it must be something that that comes up as a product of the work, either work through a research or whatever. But it shouldn't just simply be assumed, so that we then have. That's why I'm saying part of it may be a job enrichment. Job enrichment is it's a byproduct of work study, where jobs can then be enriched, and when the person feels that there's more work that I'm doing, and out of the product of my work, I can see what I'm doing. All those issues. That's why I'm saying there has to be a way of saying what do I do to be happy at work. Now, the other issues of systems. Systems don't only come through plans, but the plans becomes a byproduct of starts with a simple thing like culture. What culture do you have at workplace? And I made an example of what the petitions committee and other committees is to say that once you set up a culture of saying in committees, either as coordinators or researchers, if there are issues that you pick up and you believe might be related to another portfolio committee, through whatever, I don't know how frequent do they meet. If let's assume it's every once a week, maybe Monday mornings, to determine the work of the week, that people report on what they've picked up in their work the previous week. They then raise those issues in those meetings. Out of that, other people who might be having interest in what has been raised can then take those issues to their own committees. It starts as a culture. It can then develop into a plan. And the same way as legislation is done sometimes. Legislation may start as the tradition of society there. And out of that tradition, then develops the law to enforce the tradition that already exists in society. So, in the same way, when I talk of systems, it's systems that you develop, and out of the systems that you develop, they can then be elevated into policies. But what systems are you developing? I think that's more on the culture that we develop in the institution. This is exactly what I meant. It's just to say that how do we work to ensure that ultimately there's impact in the work that we are doing, and that process includes learning, and learning is listening, being open to ideas, And those ideas does not necessarily mean that they may be appropriate, but it is that what is it that we can pick up from these ideas to enrich what we are doing. So that's the way of trying to maybe the people who are schooled in systems theory can maybe assist us. The Roy. You are the people who must assist us in these issues. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Foko.
Thank you, Chair. Mookamedi Chair. Ke kgolwa Comrade Zama o tla e bitsa re Mookamedi Chair after myself. Chair, I just want to check. I'm a little bit worried about the meetings. We call them order group. In your lingo, it's a management meeting. So those planning meetings, it's monthly or weekly. I just want to check. If it is monthly meetings, it's going to be, a little bit far for us. Why I'm saying that, I'm referring to TAC. TAC is weekly. And the TAC that we are having many problems about it. One is that you're supposed to meet as the management so that to give orders to the coordinators, what are they expected to do weekly. I think you must meet weekly so that you must prepare, and you must prepare the documents that we're supposed to receive them before the meetings. Like now we are getting late submission from departments, and there is no one who's taking responsibility about that. It's very important. We don't want to be embarrassed when we arrived here and we meet with the departments and we don't have proper documentations. That's why earlier I talked about the documents that we're supposed to have in our position before we go to the meetings. So weekly meetings, they will help you to meet with the managers, to meet with the directors, and you'll take it from there after those meetings. Maybe it will be Monday's meeting or Tuesday, it's up to you. But every week, you're supposed to meet and check where are the problems. The other one is this one of appointments. You advertise, you appoint, but you don't introduce those people that you have been appointed to the staff, so that you must sit down, they must do a handing over, a proper handing over. We want a proper handing over because it will hamper with, the daily work of that particular person who's supposed to hand over. And she's sitting there with the information, she doesn't want to give it to the other person who take over the responsibilities. So it will be proper that you bring all the staff in one house and you brief them that so and so have been appointed as the manager. You're supposed to give him or her the necessary cooperation. But it's not happening here. The time that I arrived here, I hear somewhere in the corridors that so and so have been appointed, but no introduction, not to us. I'm not saying to us, to the ordinary people who are working with that particular manager, so that handing over must be done correctly. There is no proper handing over, if you can check. And it will continue. So let us stop it and make sure that we introduce those people properly. The other one is, I think the work study, Mookamedi Khwabane talked about it. I don't want to repeat it. I just want to link this one with the work study, the team building. The team building also is very important, that we must have a team building so that those people, they must know working together. Team building is about working together. When I call someone, when I call Tate Chaban must be able to say, no, I deploy one person there and I know that he's fit to do what he's supposed to do. But for now, if you can call someone now and ask him about someone, he'll be saying something that I don't want to say here. So please, thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Van Vuren.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think there's two issues for me, and the one is the responsibility of the chairpersons, firstly, and then the responsibility of the staff members in the committees. But I saw now the last week again with our, not oversight, the public hearings that we had. The first day when we wanted to join the Zoom meeting, we couldn't access it. So it took us about 20 minutes to sort that out. Then we went into the first meeting where the public sector commissioners, people from Cape Town that briefed us from Parliament. And we sat there and the staff members walked in about 20 minutes late. I addressed it afterwards with them, but I mean, there should be a system. I want to be proud of this institution. I believe firmly that we are a professional institution. And I don't know how, there's a culture, and I think it links to what Honorable Khuabane said. There's a culture created amongst the staff members that it's okay to be late. It's okay to deliver a report a day before or the morning before the meeting, because you'll just quickly go through it. And that's where I say, I think there's a responsibility on the chairpersons as well, where we have to meet with our staff members, say a week before, to approve that report, read through it, make sure that there's no spelling mistakes, that the grammar is correct, that the information is correct, then present it to the committee or in time and then discuss it at the committee. But these things doesn't happen like that. And with all due respect, Chairperson, it starts with us as politicians. Because we're always, not, and I don't want to say we, because I'm not included in that. I hate it when people are late. We've got no respect for punctuality, none whatsoever. And you can, it's just this morning again. We set the example, and then to come back to the officials, the senior officials that see that example from us, sets the example for the junior ones. And it just doesn't, it's okay, they follow them. This person is late, she's my head or senior, it's fine because at least I'm not late because she's with me late. Or, okay, I think I've made my point there. I don't know how to address it. There should be a strategy around this. And it's all well and fine that we've got these strategic planning sessions and go through it. What are we just drinking and eating there and having fun? We should address these things. And how are we going to address people that doesn't do what they should do? Because ultimately, the buck stops with the chairpersons. We must take responsibility, and it reflects on us. But there's a system that supports us. And I don't know, there should be a cohesion or some kind of way. And I think, I mean, they fall under the Secretariat. Chair, and then on the petitions issue, I'm concerned, maybe I don't understand exactly what the acting secretary said, but I'm scared that if they now appoint somebody that decides if this, I understand if it should comply to the Petitions Act, but the merit, I don't think somebody should decide if the merits of this qualifies to go to the petitions. Then we take away the public right of administering their oversight or their right to bring something in front of Parliament. I hope I explained myself correctly. Chair, and then the last thing on the fourth raadsaal. We should never allow that raadsaal not to be fixed. That is a beautiful, beautiful building. It's us. It's part of us. It's a heritage site. We must do everything in our power to enable whoever should do it to fix that building. We should never get to the position that we say, we're not going to have the money to do it. I know we haven't got the money. I'm actually pleading that we should do something because we should never let that go. It looks like a parliament building. It feels like a parliament building. We should protect that. There's so much that went through that building, and if the walls can talk, I think we should protect that thing. We shouldn't now go, and there shouldn't be even an idea or a thought that let's get a new legislature building and put the new raadsaal in there. We should prevent that at all costs. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add to that, if you look at our logo, that's the building. So if it collapses, we'll have to amend the logo as well and just show the decay in the logo before we accept it. Chair, just a question on the international relations. I see 4 reports were submitted on strengthening the legislature's participation in international relations. I didn't know that that was the purpose of traveling abroad, to strengthen, to do reports on strengthening our participation in international forums. That you do physically. The reports that we get and the feedback we get should be what have we learned there that we can apply to the legislature. Our purpose shouldn't be just to strengthen relations. We're not DIRCO. If we do trips, it must have some benefit for the legislature. And I haven't seen any of these reports. I know it started last year with a trip to Malta. Where are these reports? What lessons have we learned? And then if we get a report, we have to implement those lessons. It's not just a tick box exercise. This costs literally millions. Every trip is about R1 million plus. It's a lot of money that we're spending on this, which we could be using on our core business. Traveling isn't, as far as when I last looked at the Constitution, wasn't our core business. So that money could be spent on our core business. And then linked to that, and I know that it must perhaps be discussed at the Rules Committee, but this committee can make recommendations to Rules that we cannot do these international trips on an ad hoc basis. And I've previously advocated that committees used to go and look at best practices as well. It wasn't just CPA. In fact, it was less CPA and more best practices by committees to go abroad and look at what is happening, interact, get good practices, which we can apply in our oversight over departments here. So we go and interact there with either legislatures or look at what other countries are doing so that we can come back and say to the department, this is what's happening there. Let's see if this can work in the Free State. And Chair, I've proposed that we have a 5-year term and that every year you give one committee an opportunity to travel. And if that means that we can't do the CPA stuff as much as we want to, then so be it. But we need to structure this and then do it like that. I don't know when last this legislature did, when any committee of this legislature traveled to go and look at best practices. It's been a long time ago. And then, Chair, linked to that, I would like to suggest that this legislature just has a session and we can get someone from DIRCO or from Parliament to come and speak to us about protocol and decorum, because I think members of the legislature also need a little bit of briefing, some briefing and training on protocol, international protocol, and also decorum of the House. because I see a decay taking place in terms of the way members dress, the way they act. Last sitting we had, which was online, it was terrible to see members of the executive eating and going on as if it's a party. But anyway, I don't want to read because the speaker said he'll rule on that. But perhaps there must be some sort of formal session with members, Chair, some training, and say, this is, if you do travel abroad, this is the protocol. If you interact with members of the diplomatic corps, this is how you address an ambassador. This is how you, because I remember years ago when we still used to traveling with a senior member of the legislature who we were embarrassed. I think through you, Chair, Leonard will remember, even on the aeroplane, one of our senior members of the legislature was shouting to the air hostess, hey, more wine, and things like that, you know. And then in a meeting, in a dinner, you know, the way we address our hosts who happen to be a speaker of another legislature and things like that, and humble ourselves before them. It's as if South Africans have this attitude that when we travel abroad, everyone owes us something, which isn't like that. Chair, so perhaps through the chairperson's panel, we can, or we can make a suggestion to rules that we just have some formal training and again, just emphasize this is our legislature function. This is our, and have the members of the executive, all members, not just us who are left. Chair, I remember sitting in a meeting where there was a princess from Jordan and a former premier fell off her chair. She was so drunk. It was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing. So let's perhaps just tighten up that a little bit. Thank you.
No, you remind me that Uncle Sin, even in this legislature, there were visitors from Nigeria. They were from Cape Town, and so they were using a bus. So they requested to have a session with this legislature here passing. So I was still working with, I don't know which premier I was working with, Mewinki or Beatrice. Now I attended the session. One of the members of the legislature was presiding there. The speaker then was not there, even the deputy speaker. And it was a woman from the ANC presiding. And one of the things that she asked, how many women are in your legislature? And then they responded, yeah, you must come here so that we can teach you on gender issues. And they looked at, you know, it's like we could just disappear. Now, and when they responded, it was not nice. When they responded, it then clearly said, dealing with the issues of protocol, it's so much important for all of us, for us members. And once we have protocol officers who are astute on the work, we can then have, in a way, you know, assistance from time to time. But I do concur. We really also need that training from time to time as members on protocol matters and also international relation issues. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief Whip. You know, when we are used to share, it's a problem. Honorable Skebele.
Thank you, Chair. I want to promise that I'm not going to be too long like other honorable members. Chair, I think the response, I was a little bit comfortable, but now the response triggered some questions on the issue of the 157 employees. to say if the acting secretary says that the directors they do not know the whereabouts of some of the employees, so it means that there might be a possibility that someone is getting paid is sitting at home because they are the managers of those different units. They might not know where are these people they are, and that also it says to us that it means that those people they are not submitting the weekly plans. It means that the monthly plans that you might get as senior manager, they are not a true reflection of the work that is supposed to or that is happening. So it means that there might be discrepancies there. Perhaps what becomes the solution is to tighten up the weekly plans, the monthly plans. They must be standardized that an employee must submit his weekly plan so that it makes it easier for senior management also to plan for issues such as your leave cycles of employees. This one is not here. Then you plan very easily across that. Then you have the institution continues to run. But it's very important we will locate the whereabouts of each and every each and every staff member of the legislature and their work that they are supposed to contribute to do so that the institution is well oiled and then all everyone their account on their responsibility as per their job description. I think it's something that the management needs to look deeper into it and resolve it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Skobela. Honorable members, that was the last round of comments and questions. Some of them was the suggestions. Maybe I can give over to the official to respond on those who want to be responded. Merciful.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, honorable members. I will start with the one of Honorable Sukwebela. Indeed, the weekly plan is a means to be able to trace and be aware as to where are the officials. Hence, we have just introduced the issue of weekly plans. The legislature did not have that as a system, as part of the system to monitor. So the first reporting will be done now from the November month. So it's a first of its nature in the legislative sector, in this legislature. I will go also to the questions that has been asked by comments by Honorable Khoban about job satisfaction. Honorable Khoban, job satisfaction, it's an internal process. If a person is not appreciative of what he or she is having, I'll make an example with myself. When I arrived here, I was happy that I am working for the Free State Legislature. I said, finally, I'm gonna serve the third arm of the of government, because I've been with the judiciary, I've been with the executive. And the difference in my salary was 500 Rand. I was happy that I am going to do a different work. And somebody told me that, hey, here, a junior official, here, we get money, we don't play. There's money here. And you get other people who come here and it's their first time job. They are at a very high level, and a person already in a second year asks for a second notch. So you tell me whether that is job satisfaction or it's something that has to do with a person. However, most of the problems of the legislative sector, Chairperson, are caused by the fact that the legislative sector itself is not regulated. With regard to the public sector, you have the Public Service Act that regulates appointments of officials as well as appointments of senior management. But in the legislative sector, we don't have anything like that. And as a result, you find that a director in Mpumalanga is getting higher or lower than a director in Free State. So that's where the problems are. And that is what we are trying to fix as the Secretaries Forum. We are, if you remember when I presented there, I also spoke about the sector bill. That is the sector bill that is intended to come up with frameworks on how appointments of the sector are being conducted. We also came up with the National Bargaining Forum so that the legislatures and secretaries don't really have to sit and discuss issues of finance, of issues of salaries. They are going now to be discussed at the level of the National Bargaining Forum. It has been registered, and I think from time to time from our financial statements, you will take note of the fact that we are contributing, I think 900 and something per annum, therefore, I'm not quite sure, or 666, yes. So we're paying that so that we are able to say the National Bargaining Forum, where we will be having representatives from the legislatures as well as the union reps, will then be attending to issues of benefits and issues of salaries at that level so that we can concentrate as management on the work of the legislature instead of having squabbles on benefits and all those things. So it's going to actually assist a lot, Chair. However, we will still continue, we will still consider the proposal of the work study. And also, we have agreed as the Secretaries Forum that the policies that will, after we having our own sector bill, will then have harmonize our policies so that we are able to be treated the same way across the country. On the Honorable Foko, on the issue of meetings, we do take counsel from what you have mentioned. However, we are also trying to be careful that we are not being labeled as micromanaging. So we as a secretariat, we do meet on a weekly basis. We meet on each and every Monday. If we can't meet on Monday, we look for any other day, but we make sure that we meet on a weekly basis. So, but we will consider trying to meet from time to time with directors to get challenges that they are facing. However, I think the CFO has two directors that reports to him, which maybe he can meet with them on a bi-weekly. And then the deputy secretary has about 5 directors that are reporting to him. He's also gonna be try and meet maybe with them bi-weekly. While I was still acting as a deputy secretary, I started that program of meeting with directors on a weekly basis. So we will see how we can maneuver around that without hampering the services that we have to render as the executive management. Yeah, we do agree and accept that appointments, we have not done proper handing over, we have not done meetings with staff. We will improve on that. Yeah, the team building, fortunately, we are already planning the team building with the senior management in January. And then in February, it will be with the joint management. And if I talk to that, maybe I can also talk to the session for DECO. We are in a process of planning a training for members that was on rules and orders, especially in the House. So we will package it together with the proposal that we must also invite DECO. So it's intended to be put on the program for January 2026. We were still just waiting to meet with the presiding officers as to how we can structure how the training program for members is going to be. And we welcome the suggestion that we must also have a session on issues of protocol. Okay, the responsibility of chairpersons. With regard to the officials that actually arrive late at the meetings, I kindly request that honorable members must please send us emails. Please, if it comes to a push, name and shame so that we can be able to correct. We will not be able to correct by word of mouth because sometimes people think we are just targeting them. So it is important that we receive written requests to actually reprimand those officials that arrive late at the meetings. Yeah. Now, on the petitions issue, Honorable Van Vuren, it's not that officials will be deciding as to whether a petition must go to the next stage to the committee. It's just that, remember, petitions are being submitted to the speaker. Now, the report that goes to the speaker for referral must be able to advise the speaker properly on the next step of referring that petition to the committee. When a person lodges a petition, he lodges a petition to the speaker, and then the speaker refers that petition to the committee. So the main problem was just fella as to who does the petitions section used to prepare, and eventually the meeting would sit. But Ntate Chaban is responsible for all the reports of the committees. So now when the reports are supposed to go to the House, it became a problem as to who prepares the report. So we are saying we are just separating the administrative powers of packaging the petition and also getting the speaker to refer it to the committee, so that once it has been referred to the committee, it becomes the responsibility of Ndate Chabana fully and doesn't have to run after other officials for purposes of getting reports prepared for the House. Colleagues, are there any other questions that I have left out? Maybe you can help me there. Okay. Oh, Chair, my apologies.
Merciful, I understand. Ntate Mabalan,
Just one point, Madam Chair. Honorable Chairperson, we shared yesterday with the CPA sub-branch executive committee members. We shared yesterday a draft report on the recent CPC, which was held in Barbados. And throughout the report, there's a heading that says key lessons learned, no? And specify each and every one of them. I think it's important, yes, that those lessons that are learned must indeed be implemented. And I think the way the report is crafted, you know, it's beautiful. And if we can implement that, I'm certain that we can be a better legislature. Thank you, Madam Chair.
thank you so
Chair,
much.
sorry, can I just on that point say something, if it's possible?
Okay.
Because we received the invitation and the report yesterday. Now, our rules and orders are very clear that we must get 48 hours notice. It was not on the TAC, not on the program, and we received invitation yesterday. We can't be there, so we sent in an apology to the committee for this afternoon's meeting. But I mean, it can't work like this. It's difficult for us to plan if it's not even on the TAC, and we don't abide by the rules because it's not 48 hours before the meeting. Just for argument's sake. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Van Vuren. Yes, I understand this thing of TAC. All of us, we know that TAC emanates from the program that is adopted by the programming committee. So if there's any changes in the TAC, we must know on time as members. So I don't know, you have any response for that, Ntate Mabalane? Or maybe we can make one.
Chair, let me just apologize. I'm not aware of a meeting that has been called. However, I will make a follow-up with Ndate Mabalane as well as the presiding officers. And then we will send a letter clarifying what has happened. Because unless if the speaker, the acting, okay, yeah, I was out of town yesterday and I only came yesterday, so this is my first day now. I was not aware that there is a notice that went out, and I really apologize because the due process has to be followed. Thank you.
No, thank you. Honorable members, now we come to the end of our meeting. And then I think the issue of punctuality on members that will be discussed in another platform, but really it's a serious concern, honorable members. The Hatsal matter, please look on it, colleagues, on that one. We can't really tlohella e le jwalo, but let's look on it. How can we do for the hassle to be fixed? Report on international relations. I think that one we are done with it. We have, before we can close, honorable members, can we have the announcement from Honorable Skwebela, the chairperson of Governance Committee? I mean, not governance, economy.
Thank you, Chair, for your moment. No, honorable members who belong to the Portfolio Committee of Economic Development, there's an urgent issue that is required that we need to close or submit on the bill that is ought to. We're supposed to have dealt with it yesterday, but due to time constraints, we're unable to. So I'm requesting that we just remain behind. The item is not going to take us more than 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Skwebela. Colleagues, Mohlomphehi. Colleagues, let me take this opportunity to thank you for coming to the committee and allow accountability to happen. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, colleagues, honorable members. Bahlomphehi, Honorable Foucault is coming from Lesotho. Now he knows that in that side, when you say it, honorable members, you say it Mohlomphehi. So I want me to use that name. Thank you so much, honorable members, and have a good day. Thank you. The meeting is officially adjourned. Motlotlei is honorable Khwabane. Morena moholo.